Today, in the Renegade Gospel, we're going to discuss the question of why God cannot forgive you without a sacrifice for sin. The reason is because of the logical disconnect between what our sin is and why a sacrifice is necessary. The logical disconnect is our judgment of God as a contingent being rather than a necessary being. Now, what do these terms mean? A necessary being is a being who needs nothing but himself. He is entirely necessary for anything else to proceed from. We are contingent beings. It follows that we come from, are created by, the necessary being. We need that necessary being to supply our needs because we are contingent. Now, when we judge God by standards which apply to us, the logical disconnect is there. For instance, when we say, why do the good suffer? Why do the evil not suffer? We are in effect judging God. We are saying that something is wrong with this world, and God, the creator of this world, is responsible for that. Now, most people say, try to go back to free will, argue various ways, but ultimately the creator set all things in motion. And God we define as omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Now, as omniscience means he knows everything in advance. We cannot do anything other than what God knew, otherwise he would be wrong. We see this in the life of Jesus and the prophecy about Judas. Judas could not do anything other than what he did, otherwise God's prophecies concerning him would have been wrong. Jesus could not do anything other than what was prophesied about him, otherwise God's prophecies would have been completely wrong. And God would not have been God in either case. God is not wrong, and his prophecies show that he knows the future, and that future which he knows about us is inescapable. Now, does that mean that because Hitler did evil and God caused Hitler to do what he did, that God is evil? No, it does not. Here is the logical disconnect. God cannot do evil to himself. It is logically impossible for anything that God does to be evil to himself, because everything that God does is for God's own good. It does not necessarily follow that it is to the good of his contingent beings, which he has created. Now, if we believe in God's goodness, we can say that all things work to the good for us who believe in and fear God. And we trust in the cross, in the fact that God loved us so much that he came and went to the cross for us, that anything else that he had to do for us would be a lot less of an imposition on him than dying upon the cross. So if he will go so far as to die on a cross for us, surely any other thing that we need, he would give to us. Now, the logical connection should be forming in your mind as to why what is called the Jesus manifold is necessary. Jesus, being God in the flesh, took our sin upon him. How did he do this? Because we accuse God. We say, God, it is your fault. If anyone deserves to die for sin, you deserve to die for sin because you are initially and ultimately responsible. And God points directly to himself as Jesus on the cross and says, I did die for sin. You have no argument left. Once you see this logical connection in the Jesus manifold, you can understand the renegade gospel.